My name is Lena Hart, and I'm 31 years old. On paper, my life has always looked like the kind of boring that makes banks smile and landlords relax. I'm a project manager for a mid-sized logistics company. My entire job is risk assessment, resource allocation, and managing stakeholder expectations. You identify a potential problem, you analyze its impact, and you execute a mitigation strategy. It's logical, it's clean. The chaos lives on whiteboards and spreadsheets where I can pin it down. My personal life, at least for a while, felt like my one project that didn't need a Gantt chart. 4 years with my boyfriend Mark. 2 years of living together in my condo. My condo, by the way. My credit score, my down payment, my name on the mortgage, and the title. A detail that becomes very important. Mark is 29, a graphic designer. He's the creative one. The kind of guy who forgets to eat because he's in a flow state and will sketch ideas on receipts and napkins. He leaves coffee mugs in strange places, wears mismatched socks, and once called my color-coded pantry tyranny, but in pastel. He said it with a grin and then kissed my forehead, so I let it slide. I thought we balanced each other. My structure, his spontaneity, my spreadsheets, his sketches. My condo was our home, my stability, his playground. Then, 3 months ago, the scope changed. A new creative director joined Mark's firm. Her name was Tia Lee. I remembered the name before I remembered who she was. His ex. The one he'd dated briefly in college. The one he'd described as too intense, too dramatic, too much. It had always sounded like a story he told himself to feel better about how messy it ended. Now she was back in his life, only this time with a senior title and a corner office. Suddenly, Mark was working late 3 nights a week. Suddenly, he had brainstorming sessions that required dim lighting and wine. His phone, which used to live face up on the coffee table, started living face down or in his back pocket. He came home smelling like perfume I didn't own and wearing a smile like he knew a joke I hadn't been told yet. I'm not stupid. I manage million-dollar timelines. I know when something is off. But I also know better than to blow up a project without data. "Hey, babe," Mark said one Thursday night, breezing into the condo at almost 11, cheeks flushed, hair a little too perfectly tousled. "Tia and I had the best breakthrough on the new campaign. You are going to die when you see these comps." "That's great," I said, my voice flat enough to iron clothes on. "Did you also have a breakthrough on how to tell me you've been sleeping with her?" The color drained from his face so fast it was almost impressive. There it was, the data point. His eyes flicked to the coffee table, where his laptop sat, still open, screen glowing. I'd come home early, heard the ping of a message, and, out of habit, glanced over. It wasn't creative direction. It was graphic, explicit messages, photos, plans. Not just, "I can't keep my hands off you," but, "When we move in together, and Lena will come around." My stomach had turned to wet cement. Mark's panic lasted 1 second. Then his expression snapped into something else. Annoyance, like I'd turned the lights on at a party. "Lena, don't be so dramatic," he sighed, dropping his keys into the bowl by the door like we were having a normal conversation about overcooked pasta. "You read my private messages?" "Dramatic?" I repeated. "I saw the messages. You're cheating on me with your ex." He crossed his arms, defense mode activated. "Okay, see, this is exactly why I didn't know how to tell you. You're so traditional." Traditional, like it was slur. "Traditional for expecting my boyfriend of 4 years not to sleep with his boss/ex?" I asked. "It's not cheating," he said. "That condescending calm salespeople use when they're trying to upsell you something you didn't order. It's polyamory." I just stared at him. "I've been doing a lot of reading," he went on, warming to his script. "Tia and I, we're partners. But that doesn't take away from what we have. You're my anchor partner, Lena. You're home. She's passion, creative energy. It adds. It doesn't subtract." "You're polyamorous," I repeated slowly. "Yes," he said, relieved, like I'd finally found the right checkbox on his form. "Finally, exactly. This is who I am. If you love me, you'll be open-minded. Monogamy is so possessive. This is the new, enlightened way." There was a ringing in my ears. I looked at him, really looked at him. The man I'd thought I knew was gone. In his place was this incredibly entitled stranger who had cheated on me with his ex and was now trying to rebrand the entire thing as a lifestyle upgrade. He wanted to keep my condo, my stability, my half of the bills, my emotional labor, and he wanted his creative energy on the side, All I had to do was evolve. Project risk identified. Not anger, not yet, just clarity. Risk. Mark is a manipulative, entitled cheater. Goal. Terminate the relationship with maximum efficiency and protect my assets. Mitigation strategy. Malicious compliance. Wow, I said, running a hand through my hair like I was overwhelmed but intrigued. Polyamory. I never really considered that. His whole face lit up, smug and triumphant. I know, it's a lot. But look, I'll send you some links. There are forums, even meetups. You just have to learn the language. Once you get it, you'll see it's beautiful. You're right, I said, softening my voice, letting my eyes go slightly unfocused. I don't want to be close-minded. I'm willing to learn. For us. He beamed. God, Lena, I knew you'd get there. This is going to make us stronger. Look, I'm going to Tia's tonight. We already had plans. But you do some research. We'll talk tomorrow. We can start building our new open life. He kissed my cheek, grabbed an overnight bag I hadn't noticed by the door, and practically skipped out. I sat in the silence and counted my breaths. 10 minutes later, I picked up my phone and opened the link he'd texted, a local polyamory meetup, happening the next night in a church basement. Perfect. Then I scrolled to a different name, Zara. Zara Price had been my best friend in college. She's now a regional theater director, a brilliant, sharp, terrifyingly good actress who gets bored easily and loves chaos as long as she's not the one bleeding from it. My text. Hey Z, weird question. How do you feel about enlightened polyamory? And are you free tomorrow night for a starring role in a one-act play titled My Sister Wife? Her reply came 30 seconds later. I am deeply intrigued and absolutely free. Send me the script. The next evening, I went to the meetup. Fluorescent lights, folding chairs, a table of grocery store cookies, earnest people talking about compersion, the feeling of joy when you see your partner happy with someone else. Kitchen table poly, where everyone hangs out together. Radical honesty and full transparency. I listened. I took mental notes. I wasn't there to pick anyone up. I was there to become fluent in the language Mark and Tia were using to gaslight me. Make sure you're centering equality, one woman said, gesturing with her reusable water bottle. If everyone doesn't have the same freedom, it's not ethical, it's just selfishness in disguise. I almost laughed out loud. After the meetup, Zara met me at a bar nearby. She swept into the booth like she was making an entrance on stage, red lipstick sharp, eyes alight. So, she said, sipping her drink, give me the director's cut. I laid it all out. Mark, Tia, the messages, the speech about anchor partners and passion, the meetup. So he's not poly, Zara summarized. He's just a garden variety cheater who found a new word. Exactly, I said. And he wants to keep my condo and my stability while he plays bohemian with his ex. Zara leaned back, smiling slowly. It was a little terrifying. Oh, Lena, this is delicious. She tapped her glass against mine. He wants polyamory? Fine. Let's give him polyamory, radical honesty, full transparency, perfect equality. That's the idea, I said. He wants a kitchen table? We'll bring a full banquet, she finished. We spent an hour crafting the performance. Zara as my new partner, fully committed to the bit, armed with every buzzword and concept I'd picked up at the meetup. My job, stay calm, stay literal, and never raise my voice. The show was set for Friday night at my condo, the one with my name on the deed and Mark's toothbrush still in the bathroom. Demolition was scheduled. Friday night, I set the stage. Literally. I cleaned the condo like it was going to be photographed for a listing. Counters wiped, pillows fluffed, mail stacked neatly. I lit one candle, just one, on the coffee table. Soft light, calm space, no chaos. Nothing Mark could point to later and say, see, you were already losing it. My laptop sat closed on the shelf. His stayed where he'd left it on the side table, charger plugged in, a reminder that everything here had defaulted to mine the moment he chose to build passion somewhere else. At 6:45 p.m., I got a text from him. On my way, Tia says hi. She's so proud of us for trying this. Of course she was. I stared at the message for a second, then locked my phone and set it face down. That had become his habit. It felt right to borrow it for one night. At 7:02, the front door opened. Lena? Mark called, his voice bright and casual. He walked in wearing his good jeans and the thin black t-shirt that made his arms look better than they actually were. He smelled like expensive perfume and printer ink. There's my enlightened queen, he said, leaning over the back of the couch to kiss my cheek. How's my anchor doing? Researching, I said, gesturing to a stack of printed articles on the coffee table. All stuff he'd sent me. It's eye-opening. He grinned, genuinely pleased. See, I told you, once you get past the jealousy programming, it's just more love, more honesty. I hummed. More something. He missed the edge in my voice. So, he said, dropping onto the other end of the couch. Talk to me. Where's your head at? Any questions I can answer? I want you to feel safe in this. I almost laughed. It's a lot to take in, I said, but I think I'm starting to get it. Radical honesty, full transparency, equality. He lit up like a child who'd been praised for using a big word correctly. Exactly. That's beautiful, babe. See, I knew you'd understand. It's not scary, right? It's just better. So honest, I said. And I'm really glad you're so open-minded too, Mark, because I need to be radically honest with you. He nodded solemnly. Of course, that's the rule. We're tearing down old patterns. The doorbell rang. Mark frowned. Are we expecting someone? I am, I said. Well, we are. He blinked. Did you invite someone over? Radical transparency, I said lightly, standing up. Isn't that what you said? I walked to the door. My heart was thudding, but my hands were steady. I opened it. Zara was there, in full costume. She looked incredible. Flowing dress, leather jacket, hair artfully messy, eyeliner sharp enough to cut. She had a worn overnight bag slung over one shoulder and a large box of artisan pastries balanced in her arms. Hey, Lena, she said, loud enough for the greeting to float into the living room. Her smile was wide, bright, aggressively warm. Oh my God, I'm so happy to finally be here. She swept inside like she owned the building. Mark stood up too quickly, knocking his knee on the coffee table. Hi? You must be Mark, Zara said, pivoting toward him with both hands outstretched, pastries and all. Wow, it is so brave and beautiful what you're doing. He blinked. I'm sorry? Opening your relationship, she gushed. Embracing ethical non-monogamy, letting Lena bring in another partner. It's just, honestly, inspiring. His mouth opened, nothing came out. I watched his brain trip over the word partner, like it was a loose floorboard. Zara, I said, moving to stand beside her. This is Mark. Mark, this is Zara. My new partner, Zara finished, turning to beam at me with theatrical affection. We just clicked at the meetup, didn't we, Anchor? She said the last word with such syrupy sarcasm I almost choked. Mark didn't hear the sarcasm. He just heard the word. Meetup? He repeated slowly. The polyamory meetup you sent me the link to, I said, letting innocence wash over my face. You told me to learn. I went. Zara and I talked for hours. The new partner energy is just intense. Zara sighed happily, leaning her shoulder lightly against mine like she'd rehearsed it, which she had. It's rare, she said, to find someone who's so willing to deconstruct their jealousy programming and step into abundance. You're lucky, Mark. His jaw worked. Wait, he said. You went to one meetup and brought someone home? Is that wrong? I frowned. I thought that was the point. Community, openness, more love. Zara perked up. Oh, are we kitchen table style, or are we doing more of a parallel polyamory setup? I'm really hoping for kitchen table. I brought pistachio croissants for breakfast, and I can totally set up a shared Google Calendar so we can keep track of cuddle rotations and overnights. My last constellation was a scheduling nightmare. Mark's eyes went huge. Shared what? There's a whole vocabulary, I said gently, repeating his own line back to him. I'm still learning, but I want to do it right. Full transparency, right? He looked from me to Zara and back again. His face had gone a peculiar grayish shade. This isn't funny, he said finally. Funny? I echoed. I'm being serious. You told me you were polyamorous, that Tia is your other partner. You said I was being possessive and traditional for expecting monogamy. So I opened my mind. I met someone. I brought her into our home. Isn't that exactly what you asked me to do? This is not what I meant, he snapped. Zara let out a soft, scandalized gasp, pressing a hand dramatically to her chest. Mark, she said, wounded. That's not very compassionate. Aren't you happy for Lena? Where's your compersion? He stared at her like she'd just spoken in ancient Greek. This is Lena. You can't just bring a stranger into our bed, he stammered. I tilted my head. Did you and Tia use a formal introduction process? Because from my perspective, it kind of looked like you just started sleeping with her and then told me to get enlightened. That's different, he fired back. How? I asked, my voice going quiet. He opened his mouth, closed it. Tia's script wasn't covering this part. This is an abuse of the lifestyle, he tried finally. You're mocking it. You're weaponizing polyamory to punish me. I'm following your rules, I said. Radical honesty? I'm being honest. I don't want this. I'm trying anyway. Equality? You have another partner, so now I do. Full transparency? She's here, with pastries. Zara lifted the box slightly. Cardamom too, she added helpfully. Get out, Mark snapped. Zara blinked. Should I put the croissants in the kitchen first, or... Not you, he snarled. Her. Lena, tell her to leave. I folded my arms. No. He stared like he'd misheard me. This is my condo, I said, keeping my tone perfectly even. My name is on the mortgage and the title. You're my long-term guest. Zara is my invited guest. I'm not kicking her out because you don't like the way equality feels on your skin. His composure cracked all at once. You're doing this to hurt me, he hissed. You don't want her. You're straight, Lena. You're not even interested in women. Zara raised her eyebrows. We had not rehearsed that line. That one was all him. You're right, I said calmly. I'm straight. Zara and I are not actually in a romantic relationship. We're acting out the scenario you insisted was enlightened and inevitable, and you still can't handle it. His eyes went wild. So you're faking this? You mean like you fake equality while keeping all the benefits? I asked. No, I'd say this is a very honest demonstration of how your lifestyle actually works when the rules apply to everyone. You twisted it, he said, almost spitting. You made a joke out of it. Zara's smile vanished. Wow, she said softly. So when you get to sleep with your ex while your girlfriend pays half your mortgage, that's enlightenment. But when she brings home one partner for one night, it's a joke? He pointed at her. You stay out of this. This is between us. Zara shrugged. Hey, I'm just here for the cuddle schedule and complex emotional dynamics. You're the one who signed up for radical honesty. Stop saying that, he snapped. We stood there in the living room, the candle flickering between us like the world's tiniest spotlight. I could see him finally, fully understanding what he'd done, not because of the cheating, but because he'd lost control of the narrative. Tia is my partner, he said, sounding desperate now. We've been building something. She understands me. And I don't? I asked quietly. He faltered. You're my home, he said, my anchor. You're not supposed to, you're supposed to be steady. I go, explore. You stay. Ah, there it was. The architecture beneath all his enlightened language. I stay, he wanders. I absorb, he experiences. I maintain, he indulges. That's not polyamory, I said. That's a boat and a dock. He stared at me like I'd slapped him. This isn't how it works, he insisted. I glanced at Zara. Seems like it's working just fine from where I'm standing. Zara smiled, small and sharp. Look, Mark, if this feels so bad to you, maybe, and I know this is radical, you were never polyamorous. Maybe you just wanted to cheat with better branding. Get out, he said again, voice shaking. No, I repeated. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to take a bag, go stay with Tia tonight, since she's your partner, and tomorrow we're going to talk about logistics, guest status, timelines. You don't get to unilaterally change the entire shape of our relationship and then scream when the geometry doesn't flatter you. His eyes flashed. You can't kick me out of my home. It's my home, I said. You're a guest who has violated the terms of the agreement. I'm being polite by giving you a head start. For a second, I thought he might throw something. Instead, he grabbed his keys, his wallet, and his phone and stalked toward the door. You're going to regret this, he said, pausing with his hand on the handle. When you calm down, when you stop being vindictive, you'll see what you're throwing away. I already see it, I said. That's why I'm throwing it away. He slammed the door so hard the candle flickered out. The silence rang in my ears. Zara exhaled, then let out a half laugh, half sob. Holy, that was intense. My hands were shaking. I hadn't realized until that moment how tightly I'd been holding myself together. Are you okay? She asked. I sank onto the couch. No, I said honestly, but it's a start. Zara set the pastries on the table and flopped down beside me. For what it's worth, she murmured, if you ever actually wanted to explore something wild and messy, you could do it with someone who didn't talk like a self-help podcast. I let out a strangled laugh. I think I'm good. I've had enough experimentation for one lifetime. We sat there in the dim candle smoke air, the echo of slammed door still humming in the walls. Demolition phase initiated. Part 3. The aftermath. When open closes in. 2 weeks later, the condo was quiet. Peaceful even. No Mark's coffee mug half filled and abandoned. No creative playlists bleeding from the Bluetooth speaker. No late-night phone vibrations face down on the counter. Just silence, broken by the hum of the refrigerator and the occasional tick of the clock. For the first time in months, I could hear myself think. Unfortunately, what I mostly thought about was the noise he left behind, on my phone. The texts had started the next morning, when he must have woken up in Tia's bed to find the open-mindedness didn't feel so romantic anymore. At first it was indignant. Mark, you made a complete mockery of something beautiful. Mark, you humiliated me in my own home. Mark, you embarrassed Tia in front of her entire creative team when she found out. I hadn't responded. Silence, I decided, would be my new love language. Then came the longer ones. Mark, Lena, what you did wasn't real polyamory. It was punishment disguised as equality. You brought a stranger into our space without even easing me into it. That one made me laugh out loud. Ease him into it? The man had blindsided me with a lifestyle lecture after months of cheating. But sure, let's talk about easing transitions. By day 3, the messages turned philosophical. Mark, you're still trapped in old paradigms. You can't grow if you're ruled by fear. By day 5, they turned angry. Mark, you think this is funny? You'll regret this when you realize no one will ever love you like I did. That one I believed, because what he called love had nothing to do with me. It was all about control, and I wasn't available for it anymore. By day 7, I'd blocked him, but I didn't block Tia. She was too predictable to resist. Tia, you made a fool of him. Tia, you're weaponizing monogamy. Tia, this isn't what polyamory is about. I typed, deleted, then finally sent one message back. Me. You're right, it's not. Neither is cheating with your employee. Then I blocked her too. Peace returned until Sunday. I was bagging up some of Mark's things. Clothes, sketchbooks, the half-broken espresso machine he swore he'd fix. Then came the pounding on the door. I froze, looked through the peephole, and there he was, Mark, with Tia in tow. I opened the door, chain still latched. Lena, Mark said, voice smooth, hands raised like a peace negotiator. We need to clear the air. No, we really don't. Lena, please, he said, this is getting toxic. We need to communicate. You mean I need to listen to you rationalize again? He sighed. There's been a breakdown in empathy. You brought another woman into our dynamic without emotional scaffolding. I actually laughed. Emotional scaffolding? Tia crossed her arms. You're mocking us, and it's disrespectful to the entire poly community. Oh, please, I said. You two were sleeping together behind my back for months. You don't get to cite ethics now. Mark took a slow breath, like he was trying to calm a volatile client. This isn't about blame. It's absolutely about blame, I cut in. You lied, you cheated, then you tried to rebrand it as self-discovery. That's not fair, Tia snapped. Neither is workplace favoritism, I said evenly. Maybe take that to HR before you talk to me about fairness. Mark looked genuinely wounded. I just thought we could all sit down and talk about it. You did, I said. You just weren't expecting the third chair to have someone in it. That finally shut him up. Tia muttered something under her breath about toxic energy and tried to pull him away. But Mark wasn't done. He leaned closer to the gap in the chain. You're not this person, he said softly. You're angry, confused. You're lashing out because you feel replaced. You don't have to be vindictive. The old me, the me who managed every project and every emotion by procedure, might have flinched. But the new me had already identified the risk, mitigated the damage, and moved on to documentation. You're right, I said. I was confused. You helped clear that up. You can pick up your things tomorrow. Noon. You can bring one person. It won't be Tia. His jaw tightened. You can't evict me. I'm asking my guests to leave, I said calmly. And documenting the process. You'll be supervised. He blinked. Supervised? My accountant friend Ben will be here, I said. He's 6'4", used to play rugby, very detail-oriented, loves clipboards. The flicker of panic in his eyes was deeply satisfying. Then I closed the door. I thought that would be the end. But the next morning, I got a voicemail. Lena, darling, it's Karen, Mark's mother. Please call me back. He's not well. He collapsed last night. The doctors think it's stress. He keeps asking for you. He's confused, sweetheart. Please, he needs you. I almost admired the coordination. A mystery illness. The classic sympathy play. I sent one text in response. I'm sorry to hear about Mark's sudden, non-specific illness. I hope he's given the doctors a full history. His pickup time remains tomorrow at noon. Her reply came 5 minutes later. You're a heartless monster. Which, ironically, was the kindest thing anyone in that family had ever called me. Part 4. Cleanup and consequences. Noon the next day. The doorbell rang exactly on time, because of course it did. Mark was nothing if not punctual when he thought it might earn him sympathy. When I opened the door, I had to fight the urge to laugh. He was wearing sunglasses indoors, a scarf, and a gray hoodie zipped up to his chin like a tragic poet. His mother, Karen, stood beside him with the energy of someone who'd rehearsed her disapproval in the car mirror. "Lena," she said, her voice trembling with performative heartbreak. "He shouldn't even be out of bed. The doctor said he's fragile." I looked at Mark. He's standing fine. "I'm dizzy," he murmured, reaching for the wall, like he was auditioning for a Victorian fainting couch. Ben, my friend and witness, cleared his throat behind me. 6'4", broad shoulders, clipboard in hand, and a faint smile that said he'd seen this act before. "Inventory form," he said, handing it to Karen. "We'll check off each item as it's packed." Karen's mouth fell open. "Is that really necessary?" "Yes," I said. "Mark's filing tendencies are inconsistent." Mark let out a weak laugh, but it cracked halfway through. "Wow, you really are treating this like a business transaction." "Project closure phase," I said simply. "You prefer structure, right?" He opened his mouth, then closed it again. For the next 20 minutes, they moved slowly through the condo, Mark sighing every few seconds, Karen glaring at me as though grief alone could make me capitulate. Then it happened, the final battle of symbolism. The mugs. 4 artisan ceramic mugs, each representing a season. We'd commissioned them on our 2nd anniversary from a local potter. Spring, summer, fall, winter, a matching set. Mark picked them up carefully, one by one, arranging them in a box. "I'm taking these," he said, voice steadier now. "No," I said. He froze. "Excuse me?" "We bought them together," I said, "so we split them, 2 each." Karen gasped, as though I'd just announced I was burning them. "Lena," she snapped, "those are sentimental." "Exactly," I said. "That's why we're dividing them equally." I walked over, lifted spring and summer from the table, and placed them gently in my own box. Then I pushed fall and winter toward him. "You can have those," I said. "Seems appropriate." For a moment, no one spoke. Then Mark's face twisted, not with pain, but rage. "You think this is funny?" he hissed. "You're splitting up a set just to hurt me." "I'm splitting assets," I said. "Fairly." He started, but his mother interrupted. "Lena, for heaven's sake, he's sick." "He seems better already," I said, nodding toward the red flush in his cheeks. Ben made a small tick on the clipboard. "Item 27. Mugs divided, half retained by each party," he murmured. Karen turned to her son. "Let's go, sweetheart. You don't need this negativity." Mark stared at me for another long second. Then, with one final huff, he shoved fall and winter into the box. One cracked audibly. "So much for fragile." They left in silence. I locked the door behind them, exhaled, and felt something uncoil in my chest. Peace, real peace this time. But of course it wasn't over. 3 weeks later, a manila envelope arrived. A summons for small claims court. Plaintiff, Mark Holloway. Defendant, Lena Hart. Claims, unlawful eviction, emotional distress, property damage, and theft of 2 artisan mugs valued at $500 each. I laughed so hard I nearly spilled my coffee. The hearing was held in a cramped municipal courtroom that smelled faintly of copier ink and stale carpet. Mark had come alone. No mother, no scarf, no sunglasses. Just righteous indignation and a stack of papers that looked suspiciously like printed Reddit posts about tenant rights. The judge, a woman in her 60s with sharp glasses and the calm of someone who's seen every kind of nonsense, looked between us. "All right, Mr. Holloway," she said. "You're claiming unlawful eviction and theft?" "Yes, Your Honor," Mark said, voice tight. "She kicked me out of our shared home with no notice, brought another person in to taunt me, and stole valuable property." The judge turned to me. "Miss Hart?" I stood, holding my notes like I was giving a project update. "Your Honor," I said. Mr. Holloway and I were in a 4-year monogamous relationship. On February 12th, he informed me that he had entered a polyamorous relationship with his coworker, Ms. Tia Lee, without my prior knowledge or consent. When I objected, he accused me of being possessive and traditional. I have text messages confirming this. I handed her a printout. She scanned the first few lines. Her eyebrows rose. "You said, quote, 'If you love me, you'll be open-minded and accept that I have another partner.'" Mark fidgeted. "That was taken out of context." "Context being," I said, "he wanted to live in my condo, which is solely under my name, while maintaining a separate romantic relationship with his ex. When I reciprocated that arrangement for equality, he objected." The judge's lips twitched. "I see." As for the eviction, I continued, he was never on the lease. I provided him 24 hours' notice to collect his belongings under supervision. He complied. The entire exchange was documented and witnessed. Ben, bless him, was sitting in the back row, giving a polite little wave. And the mugs? The judge asked. Joint purchase, I said. A set of 4, I retained 2, he retained 2, equal division. The judge nodded slowly, then turned to Mark. Mr. Holloway, she said, as I understand polyamory, it involves equal openness between partners. You don't get to be poly while your partner remains monogamous. That's not a legal arrangement. That's just a bad deal for her. Mark opened his mouth, closed it, then muttered, It's more complicated than that. I'm sure it is, the judge said dryly. But legally, you were a guest. She asked you to leave. That's within her rights. Case dismissed. The gavel came down. Mark's face went slack, disbelief giving way to fury. You can't just... The case, the judge said, raising her voice, is dismissed. He kept talking. The bailiff had to gently usher him out. When the door closed behind him, the judge looked at me and said, Ms. Hart, I suggest you invest in a lock change. I already have, I said. She smiled. Smart woman. After the hearing, I heard from a mutual acquaintance that Tia dumped him. Hard. Apparently, she'd called him emotionally regressive for not embracing equality when she wanted an open relationship of her own. Irony is a patient teacher. Mark moved back in with his mother. His stress illness miraculously vanished. Meanwhile, I sold the condo, too many ghosts in those walls, and moved into a sunlit apartment near the water. Zara helped me unpack. We ordered takeout, opened a bottle of wine, and laughed until midnight. At one point, she looked around my new kitchen and said, Feels different here. It is, I said, placing 2 mugs on the open shelf. Spring and summer. New seasons. New project. No more managing anyone else's chaos.